welcome to a episode of the Majestic View Show. I am your host, Zakir Muhammad, and I am here with the Majestic View from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So today we have a very special episode and a very special guest. And so what we're going to do is give you the opportunity to leave a comment, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching the replay, to let us know where you are tuning in from. The Majestic View Show is raising the bar, women in media, raising the bar in all aspects of life, whether it's tech, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's finances, whether it's health and wellness. And today's special guest is Michael Pratt. Michael Pratt is the founder of My Pivet. That's Pivot with ET. So the same way you pronounce it, that's how you spell it, right? And so he has been a product manager for over 20 years. And currently, he also has partnerships and consulting with your favorite phone service, so whether that's T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, you name it. And so what he has created, he's actually part of the 1% of Black-owned companies that have been VC or venture capitalist funded. And so he had created a biodegradable, sustainable phone case, right? How many times do you drop in your phone and it costs you an arm and leg just to replace it? So Michael has produced this self-cycle technology. And so it's, not only are you just gonna have a phone case replaced, but you're also doing good for the environment as well. And so today, this episode especially is for you if you are really curious about what's going on in a venture capitalist world, or you are an entrepreneur, or you're on the other side of the spectrum. You are that investor and you're really curious as to what's going on in the world, especially when it comes to the BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color who are founders, entrepreneurs, especially in the tech industry. And so without further ado, I'm going to welcome Michael Pratt. Hi, Michael.
Hi, how are you?
I
Thank you
am
for
great.
having me on.
Great, yes. And thank you for being here. What you're doing is super, super important, especially when it comes to technology. I think one of the easiest expenses that people do is that new iPhone, that new Samsung, right? And so you really kind of brought the other side of it of what about your cases? What about still doing good for technology? So go ahead and just tell us a little bit more about, why did you decide to do this?
Sure. Well, first of all, again, thank you for inviting me on. I appreciate it. I'm very humbled to be allowed to be a guest on your show. As we spoke about in the pre-show, you've done some pretty impressive things. So I'm hoping that beyond the show, you and I can continue to network and hopefully help each other in our respective careers. But Pivet is kind of the brainchild of years in the mobile and telecoms industry. It is literally a pivoting activity for me. This is why I named the company Pivet. And the word pivot by definition means a point in which something turns. And so for over 15 plus years, I had been in the mobile industry. I worked as an employee for AT&T back in the day doing product development. I worked for one of the largest accessory distributors in the US doing product development for them. I went out and started working for various suppliers, and I learned. I went into the sales and business development side of the world and learned how to do that with small businesses, helping other companies. And then at one point, I decided I'd go out on my own. I started a company called Durst Crew, which was a manufacturer's rep agency. It's the industry terms, and essentially what I was like, I used to joke, I'm the poor man's Shark Tank. People would come to me to gain access. I would help bring their products to market. I had at that moment had developed relationships with the likes of all the national retailers in the US, as well as quite a few globally, and various operators globally, so that I had a trusted and known name to where I could bring brands and products and get them placed. And so I made the business made its money off of representing and taking a cut off of the sales that it generated, right? And so it was fairly lucrative and very successful. And at some point, I decided, okay, I've made millions of dollars for these brands and other people. Why not do it for myself? I started Pivet with my partner Will Marshall, who is a Samoan Kiwi. So he lives down in New Zealand, and he is my head of design. And he worked for one of the companies that I represented years ago, and he is a phenomenal designer, industrial designer. his cultural background and his awareness and concerns around the environment paired with mine gave us the impetus to start Pivet and to go down the path that we've gone. And so right now, what's unique about Pivet as a consumer electronics brand that is a very authentic Black-owned company that is meant to essentially, we're trying to be what I did not see in the industry already. A company that has a voice that speaks of and to my community and people that look like me, because unfortunately, I've spent many years now going into boardrooms still, where I'm the only person that looks like me. And so with Pivet, we're making a point of making sure that our marketing, our narrative, everything about how we build this business represents and looks like those that typically are not being thought of or considered. And it's an important point there because particularly within the US, African Americans tend to over-index on technology, social media. I mean, we have a name, Black Twitter, for a reason. Black America used to drive, I think, something like 26, 28% of daily trend on Twitter. Like it drove the content on Twitter. We over-index and we're moving towards having like $2.1 trillion in spending capacity, and we spend on electronics. But very few companies actually talk to us directly. It's taken for granted. So with Pivet, part of what we're pivoting against or away from is that type of behavior. So by being a Black-owned company and being authentic in that capacity, when you see our marketing, when you see our commercial, when you see anything Pivet, you will see people that look like me. You will see people that look like you, and it'll be done in the same way as you see with others. And we are already doing that, and that's part of the Pivet. That's part of what we're doing. So this brand is meant to pivot and change everything everywhere that we can. So that long-winded answer going into, what is Pivet right now? Like I said, Will and I talked about sustainability. I will give him credit as being the one who initiated it first with our business because of his cultural background and his interest. We discussed all the waste and the challenges in our market right now. And I'll give you an example, a simple example. The new iPhone's going to come out. Everyone's making cases and chargers and things uniquely specific for this device, accessories, right? And you forecast. No one's perfect in forecasting. So no matter how well you do, there will be waste in manufacturing materials. There will be waste in packaging materials. There'll be waste in finished goods that will go into market, never be sold, and end up somewhere. That somewhere is the trash. So no matter how you cut it, no matter how efficient you are, there's waste in our industry. And this is not unique. This is everywhere. Having done this for over a decade, I had the opportunity. I know intimately what kind of waste there is and how bad it is. And so that was our first point. So as a solutions-driven brand, we decided to look at how we can improve from an eco and sustainability perspective, the waste scenario in our industry. Now, on average, a phone usage is about 2.8 years, and the consumer will take 2 to 3 phone cases over that time frame. Those phone cases ultimately end up in the trash. 90% of plastic in the US ends up in landfills. So we call that the 90% problem, and our solution is what we've trademarked our material as, is a self-cycle. And essentially, when you buy a Pivet product, a Pivet plastic, you're buying plastic that has been enhanced with our unique exclusive material. That means that our products, when you throw them away, we encourage in our packaging, our marketing, everything speaks to please recycle, please do the right thing. But the facts don't lie. 90% of plastic in the US ends up in landfills. So if you choose not to, or the product for whatever reason finds itself not being recycled and properly, sustainably taken care of, and it ends up in that 90% number in the trash, in the landfill, if it's a Pivet plastic within 3 to 5 years, it's 99.99999% biodegraded. The decay agents, the bacteria that cause degradation in nutrient-rich environments like landfills will eat Pivet plastic about the same rate that they do a banana peel. And that's that self-cycle additive. So all of a sudden, what we've done at Pivet is instead of trying to make 400 million people change their behavior, we adapted our technology and created technology and create products that meet the consumer where they are. You're already throwing it away. At least now all you have to do is choose me instead of the competitors, and you're going green and eco-friendly. You can continue doing what you're doing. If you choose Pivet, you at least have chosen an eco-friendly company with a product that will on its own self-cycle and biodegrade. So that's long-winded answer for you, but that's where we are today. I think that answered you. Yeah.
Yes, it does. And I want to applaud you for pivoting, literally, like you said, the people that look like us, we don't get the opportunity to do that because we want to just kind of do what we know, right? And just be consumers, but not realizing that. I'm so glad you brought up Black Twitter because that's a whole nother topic and for relevant. But, Black people are the biggest spenders when it comes to consumer, to technology, to travel. And so how can we kind of take, especially with the affirmative action, and to start to become our own bosses, get back to becoming our own bosses? Because I'm also here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the original Black Wall Street. Yes, there's a variation of it in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, there's a variation of it still kind of sort of in New York City and kind of growing a bit more in DC. But I think what's happening now is being able to pivot in a way so that people have resources, that they can be able to, no matter what, be both consumers and, creators. So that was a great long-winded answer. And what I'm going to do if you're watching, if you're watching on social media, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share the website right now. And if you're not watching and you're just listening in, go to mypivet.com. And be sure to just go check out the website. If you're like, ooh, I want to see these cases. I want to see what he's talking about. So I'm just scrolling through the website right now, but be sure to go and get your own. Be sure to support and purchase as well and follow them everywhere on social media. Most likely at my Pivet or Pivet Communications. All right. So I think the next question that I have for you is I kind of want to go back into what did you really struggle with, right? When you notice that you're going into these rooms and going into these places where you are the only one or one of few, and what did you struggle with? And for those, you did mention a couple of tips, but I'm sure there's a couple of entrepreneurs and founders who are really fascinated with that side, right? So what was that like? What was the hardest part about really making it through the, VC capitalism industry?
So I will have to kind of rephrase your question because it's not what did, it is what am I struggling with? It's continual. We are by no means out as at the level that I believe my brand and my business can go on. We are still working through. I'm actually at the stage now where we're 5 years alive. The company's 5 years old, and we've gone through what I consider the first milestones. And this is one of the fascinating points that I do want to share is as I'm learning going through this as an entrepreneur, this time owning the brand and building the brand versus representing people and representing brands. And now all of this is shouldered by me as the CEO and the founder. One of the things I'm learning is that you don't know what you don't know. Right. And there's this type of experience is one that will humble you on a daily basis. And there's no room for just doing all of this and I am so-and-so, because as soon as you think you've gotten to a certain level, you'll find out how much more there is to do, how much more there is to go, and how much further and harder it's going to be. I've found thus far, every stage, not only is it a challenge, the reward on the other side of having gotten through that challenge, it's all there. It's worth it. It is hard, but it is worth it. I'm literally in the middle. Before jumping on with you, I was on talking to a potential investor. So we're in the middle right now. So I actually did not get any VC funding yet. We have been engaged with VC. We have been engaged with angel investors. I've tried to work with incubators. It's been very interesting because on one end, I'm a little bit, if you can see the grays here, I'm seasoned. Yeah, I'm seasoned, right? So I've been around for a little bit. And so what I experienced going into the incubator world and all the folks that want to invest in the idea, there's a lot of money out there, or perceived to be a lot of money out there for you when you're at the idea stage. And the way I've heard people talk to me is that at the VC level, everyone wants the home run. They want the big win to invest, and they really are hoping for that one that's the big home run opportunity for them. So then when you come in, as I did, I self-funded myself. And we got through and leveraged the network and relationships already had to get going. I became less attractive to VC because it's not a home run anymore. It's an incremental opportunity. It's a single, it's a double. If we use the baseball analogy, and that's fun because I don't even watch baseball. So we kind of struggled with dealing with VCs. We have struggled, to be honest, dealing with the larger national banks. One thing I would strongly recommend, and it's something I had to go through the pitfall of, is for the entrepreneurs watching, get with a regional bank. I strongly suggest not working with the national banks. It is a very difficult, and I personally have had zero success with it other than standard banking, but getting the funds, SBA, any of that through the larger banks has just been a massive challenge. Whereas going in with a regional bank who are very well positioned to support small businesses and who will give you the personal attention you deserve when you're still growing and learning and building, it is worth it. And it is, if anyone listening, walking away from this today hears me, if you're an entrepreneur looking for funding through banks, go through your regional banks. From my experience, I strongly suggest that. And find a preferred lender, an SBA preferred lender in your area. But we are currently going through getting a round of SBA loans for the business because, as being self-funded, we got to a certain stage. We have our unique material, which gave me entry in. I had my network and relationships that gave me entry. Unfortunately, for a couple retail and brand or customers, being BIPOC, when George Floyd was murdered, some tried to leverage that, right? And they wanted, and it's a side funny story of having talked to one of our customers and indicating, like, you do not get to put my face up, you do not get to show who I am and my business right now because you're wanting to do that. Maybe to say, hey, look, I have a Black supplier. Like, no, like, we don't do that. I'm not here for that, right? And but being being a Black-owned business has given some challenges, as everyone has experienced that's in my place, but is also right now opened up and given me some opportunity. But I am self-funded. We're going through SBA. We are talking now to private equity. One thing I had a mentor tell me that was interesting was, Michael, you can be 100% owner of your business and get it to $10 million, and you'll own that 10 million. Or you can give up 50% of it, get the VC funding or private equity funding, and drive your business from 10 to 100 million. Which one is a better story for you? 50% of 100 million or 100% of 10 million, right? A way to help teach and learn. Again, every step, there's always new learnings and new ways to understand. I'm now working on learning how to really understand debt management. Like, you have to have debt to grow a business. You have to learn. It's not personal. You don't manage your business debt the same way that you manage your personal debt. Again, lessons that I'm learning as an entrepreneur doing this for the first time, building a brand all by myself. So there's a lot of pitfalls, a lot of challenges, but the reward in knowing that I have a brand right now, that the last round of updates that we got from the consumer agency that tracks point of sale for our industry, Pivet was last time we checked the number 20th largest accessories brand in North America. And by the way, we did all of this during a global pandemic. We grew our brand while everyone else was shrinking and even some going out of business. I was able to leverage the opportunities and keep pushing to where we're now number 20. Again, probably one of the fastest growing in our industry, with national placement with T-Mobile. We're going into Verizon. We've been in Best Buy, Target. This October, September, October, you'll see Pivet products global. We're going into Mexico, Canada. We're working on some new business in Western Europe, as well as into India. So every step of the way is a challenge. The funding bit and the financials of this business and being able to gain access to funding has been a massive challenge, just like everyone else. And again, to your question, like, what I can tell anyone trying is just have faith and keep pushing. Don't turn away from anyone. Work and talk with any and everyone around you, and someone will step in for you.
Congratulations. And especially congratulations for still pushing through, right? Because what you shared a lot of tips. And I'm sure that some people are going to either want to rewind this video, be like, wait, let me take that note, because there's so many entrepreneurs right now, especially that are at that stage, right? They're early. They want to be that side hustler. They know that this is not the only way. They don't know how to get there, but they know that they are frustrated and overwhelmed
Mhm,
about all the
mhm.
pitfalls. And so, you really just gave like a really cheat sheet right then and there about, okay, this is
Yeah.
how you keep going, and that's absolutely important as well, especially when it comes to your conversation, especially as you continue to grow and continue to get more investments. And so I
Mhm.
want to kind of shift gear just a little bit, since we're now getting into the nitty gritty of really what it is to kind of build your own brand and raise funds as well. And so what's happening right now, this is being recorded in July, and so there's actually an event called Black Tech Week, and so it's going to be in Cincinnati, Ohio. And so they've been doing it for about 4 years, but one of the major sponsors is here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, called Lightship. And
Mhm.
so they kind of umbrellaed all of the Black and brown entrepreneurs that either want to just be entrepreneurs, want to explore what that's like, or they're already either early stage or pre-seed. And so for when it comes to just that sense of community, that sense of relationship that you did talk about and mention, for events such as Black Tech Week or anything else going on in Austin, Texas, where you are located, what do you really recommend when it comes to building those initial relationships that really help people to get to where they aspire to be?
So that's a great question. And I want to start first by I'm going to give you a little tangent answer first and then come back to it. And I do this because of I think it's important just for my community, our community in general. So I go to a counselor once a month. And in our community and our culture, historically, as a Black man, you're weak for going to counseling and whatever. That would just ultimately BS. But I
Wait,
go to a counselor because
counseling therapy.
therapy.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I go once a month. It's necessary at this stage of my life. I have 3 children. I'm married. I have parents that are senior. I'm building a business in a country that at times doesn't open the door for us, right? And so having someone to go to that's trained professional that can listen and do the amazing things that my counselor Diane does is necessary. So I encourage anyone listening who's ever thought about it and been like, "Nah, Black dudes don't do that," or "That's for white folks," or any of the BS out there that negates going. Ignore that because it is BS, and find someone if you have the ability, can afford it, and have the insurance to do it because it will help. And so my counselor, Diane, for that tangent, bringing it back to your question for finding folks to work and how to do that here in Austin. I struggled for a bit with even connecting with folks that look like me here in the investment community. And not just for a bit, I still do, to be honest. Again, I think more of it for me has been that we're not as a business at the early stages. And so a lot of the investment opportunity that I've come across and looked into and try to network and navigate through in Austin really seeks to help those who are at the idea stage, who are really at the front end. There's a lot of opportunity in there, but for my business, as I had already self-funded, got to a certain stage, I've struggled to find that network of folks, particularly those that look like me here in Austin. But my counselor, I struggled with it, to be very honest. Like, why am I not able to connect this way? And one of the things she made a point of, and in fact, we have what are called the FU moments. There are the moments in counseling where she says something that I don't like, and I go quiet. And she's like, "Michael, are we having an FU moment?" Yes, we are. Because you don't want to hear what I really want to say right now. But one of the things she told me is your community doesn't have to look like you in business. It has to be the ones who want to help you. Those who are reaching out to you are your community. You don't only need to only try and figure out how to do it with folks that look like us. And that was a revelation for me because part of what I'm trying to do with Pivet is to be a beacon in this industry where there's no one doing what I'm doing, at least from an owner perspective, and trying to be authentic in that capacity. And part of that is making sure as much as I can to build with others within the community, but also having to be honest with myself and understand that, listen, when you're trying to get funding, when you're trying to figure out how to get to the next step, your community is the folks that are there to help you. It doesn't really matter what they look like. What matters is that they're there, they're behind you, they're next to you, they're ride or die with you, and they're there to help get you to the next level. That's who you need to be searching and working and trying to get a hold of. Preferably, it'd be someone that looks like you, because part of what we're trying to do is to build on our own, right? But be sure not to turn away opportunity just because it's someone that doesn't look like you.
That's super important, and especially thank you for mentioning that you are going to therapy, because we are recording this in July. It is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and I actually had the show on early today. But one of my favorite mental health awareness nonprofits, Black owned, used to be big in the entertainment industry. Silence the Shame, formed by Shanti Das, and so she, provides a lot of free resources. She has a book, and the whole bit. She's based in Atlanta, Georgia. But I completely agree. I think I also, when I'm not having these conversations with entrepreneurs, I'm literally helping them to build their brand, helping them to step outside of their comfort zone, and that's one of the biggest things that I tell them. I see it as soon as we get to one of those, the equivalent of an F you moment with me, right? I'm saying,
yeah.
Oh, F you, I'm not doing it. I'm doing it my way. But it's, mental health is super, super important, because in order to really get over those mental blocks, because yes, the people that look like us, going right back to Black Wall Street, there is trauma inside of us that we don't even know about, and it's affecting the way that we interact and pursue our goals. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'm glad that that's also what we could all kind of find, that middle ground, when it comes to those entrepreneurs who are ready and open to receiving and understanding that they got to invest in themselves in order for also other people to be able to invest in them. So that's super, super
100%.
Yes.
I'll tell you this. This is, like I said in the beginning of this interview and this conversation, really is what I'm trying to do with Pivet right now is build an authentic brand. One that if you look under the covers, you see everything you see about my company is true and authentic. And all the way down to me being honest that, yeah, I go to therapy. Of course I do. You see the mess I have to deal with to be successful. So yeah, it's something growing up that I know everyone, oh, we don't do that. Wrong. We have traumas we have to work through. And getting professional support for that is necessary for you to be your best self. Your mental health is the most important part of this journey.
Absolutely. Now we have a special, well, she's not a special guest, but she's always a guest. But we have one of our co-hosts who is here. If you are familiar with the Majestic View show, Leah Miller is one of our co-hosts. She's traveling, so that's why if you were like, "Where's Leah?" She's here. So she's about to pop in and ask a question. Hey, Leah.
Hey, how you doing, Zakira? Thank you for joining us today, Michael. This has been an interesting conversation that I've been listening to since I have my Majestic View today from Portland, Oregon, on the road to Seattle, Washington. So that's where my Majestic View is coming in today. And I also want to applaud your openness and willingness to just talk about some of the pitfalls that entrepreneurs face and the need to take care of ourselves mentally and physically and emotionally, because I think it's no secret that entrepreneurs really never stop. They keep giving and putting out. And especially when you're talking about, looking for funding to expand your business and some of the barriers that exist for any entrepreneur, but in particular, BIPOC and Black people specifically, entrepreneurs, it's going to take a toll. And I agree that we do have generational trauma that is in our DNA that still needs to get worked out. So I think it's so important that we talk about it, we normalize it in our community, and that more people consider it, because I do think it really makes such a difference. But saying all that to say that I do have a question for you, because even though I know you're still kind of on the journey yourself and you're trying to move your company in a new direction, you've succeeded where so many others have failed. What do you think is the secret behind your success? And then a second question, if we have, for all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there who look to you as a role model or see you as an example of what success looks like, what would be the first step you would encourage them to do? Is it to have the vision and then?
Okay, great.
So those are my two questions.
Yeah, we got the questions, and you are breaking up because I know you're going through a bad area for your questions. So go right ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so the first one is the secrets to success right now. Number one, it's funny because that's something I'm still learning how to even accept hearing, because I think I've got such a long way to go. I don't feel like I've actually succeeded at this point yet to the level that folks like yourself will tell me. So being humble is, I think, one of the keys, right? Is to know that there's always more to do. And you know, it's funny because our first effort with Best Buy was we worked with them and created their first Black History Month program, and they came without wasting time going through the full story. Ultimately, they came to Pivet because Pivet is probably still the only Black-owned business supplier to Best Buy, which is shameful for the history of it. It's 2023, but and also, you know, I'll pat myself of having been the first brand to actually have a direct supplier relationship with them. But, you know, they admittedly spoke about not fully being comfortable, at least in the mobile area, in speaking to the community during Black History Month and wanting to be sure they're authentic. And so they came to Pivet. We built a program with them and launched. And one of the products we did was it was for the iPhone 11 when that was out. And one of the products we did was one that had the Sankofa concept on it, which ultimately is West African proverb indicating that you stand on the shoulders of those before you. So the success that I seem to have right now is the fact that I stand on the shoulders of those that have come before me. I did an interview a couple of weeks ago, and I spoke strongly about my parents and you know, my father from Duck Hill, Mississippi, right, and who went to the colored school, Duck Hill School for Colored Children, which, again, as a note, knowing what the Supreme Court recently did, what's sad and funny at the same time is my father's 79 this month. He grew up in Jim Crow, Mississippi. Affirmative action wasn't around when he was born, and it's gone already. It's shorter lived. It's not even been one full generation of execution, and it's been taken out. And those listening, particularly those who aren't Black, think about that and go look through the history on these type of things. So I'm sorry, I go down that path, but I stand on the shoulders of those before me. So my success is really on that. My success in the business world right now with the product and such is one. I didn't go create a company doing something that I didn't already have knowledge, experience, and wasn't already a subject matter expert in. I am a gadget geek, accessory geek. I have been doing and working in this industry for years. So when I made the choice to create the brand and to do this, I didn't do it just jumping in saying, "Ooh, I want to make phone cases and sustainable product." I already knew how to do most of what I'm doing before I chose to go out and do it myself. And they say, I forget the percentage of companies that, you know, never make it 2 years, but it's over 50% or more. And I've taught at a high school doing an entrepreneur program this year. And I told them, you know, if I went out and curated, I love Cuban food. I would love to open a Cuban restaurant. I don't know anything about making and doing any of that. I can guarantee you I'll fail, right? So the key to the success, number one, is being humble and understanding that you stand on the shoulders of those before you. You have done nothing on your own. You've done it through the help of others that have gotten you where you are. So being humble and recognizing that. And then two, do what you like and do something that you're an expert at, because that's where the success and the win will come through. Now, I apologize. The second question, because you broke up a little bit, do you mind being able to repeat that one more time?
Well, I
Yeah,
can.
if we have time, unless Akira knows it, go ahead and you can just say it for me.
It was I feel like he answered it, Leah, though. I really do feel like he answered
He
it.
did. Yeah. He actually touched on
Yeah.
the answer to both in that answer. So you're good. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
excellent.
what's so
Thank you.
amazing. So that's what's so amazing about this conversation. You shared so many great gems. I know people are gonna definitely be looking at the replays. And if you are new to the Majestic View Show, you can follow us on YouTube at Majestic View Show. And Michael, go ahead and tell us where we can follow you and Pivet on social media.
Absolutely. So we're on all the social media sites as MyPivet, MyPivet, and we spell pivot phonetically. Our products have that phonetic spelling on it with the upside down E, which is our also brand and logo. Our website is mypivet.com. You can find us on TikTok, Twitter, Threads now, all the social media locations. And we are starting to build our direct to consumer channel right now. So you will see going into next year a massive push of us starting to talk to your audience, starting to talk to consumers directly and taking that opportunity in-house. But then you can also find our products nationally in T-Mobile stores across the country, full footprint. You can find us in about half of Target stores. And if you're fortunate, about a third of the Target stores have a displayer right now in the stores that actually show our products and explain our sustainability story with our self-cycle technology. And then we are also in Best Buy stores. We will be going into Verizon in Q4. And then, like I said, on the beginning of the show, you'll see us starting to expand globally into multiple countries in Q4 of this year as well. And I want to just tell you, thank you for hosting and having me on your show.
And say, where do you have a majestic view from?
I have an amazingly majestic view from hot and sweaty Austin, Texas today. It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot here too. I stepped outside and I'm like, ooh, if this is what hell feels like, I don't want to be in it.
Oof, I'm telling you, it's hot.
All right. And Leah, where do you have a majestic view from again?
Today, I have a majestic view from Portland, Oregon on the road to Seattle, Washington. And thankfully, it is not that hot. The weather is actually perfect. So come west.
Well, thank you for watching, and be sure to tune in to the next episode. Be sure to share this episode and let us know where you have a majestic view from and what was your new majestic